categorization of it. You have 5 top categories of psychosocial disability, and where you mentioned 40% of whether you lie above 40% and then you will get so-and-so benefits, and if you lie below it, you get so-and-so benefits. In psychosocial disability, you're talking about the function of the person, functionality of the person. Because today I can lie in 50% and I might need reasonable accommodation. Tomorrow I might lie at 0% and I can be as normal as everybody over here. That's when it comes to my third point, that if you're looking at just the legal aspects of CRPD, and as you correctly pointed out, you can't just focus at the legislative part of it. How do we target the other sector of society? Because if you implement the law, if you make it a point that everybody out there follows the CRPD, it gives someone with psychosocial disability a complete reasonable accommodation where I don't have to go to the court because the guy in the train refuses to let me on board because I have schizophrenia. And that's the other aspect of it that I'm looking at. These are double paradoxes. On one hand, I need to come here to attend this conference. I have no legal capacity. I cannot get reasonable accommodation on a train because if I tell them I'm schizophrenic, if they don't come, then I can't come. On the other hand, if CRPD and other legislations put a stop, make a point that whether she's schizophrenic or not, in any lines, she still gets to come on train and she gets reasonable accommodation. So,
no, I get your point. See, what we need to be somewhere appreciating is basically just this, that the CRPD is giving you a toehold to do your advocacy. If we get a legislation tomorrow, then also we would need to do that. The fact that we have to kind of change social attitudes, the only point which the CRPD as well as a law which recognizes legal capacity will do is it will give you a handle from where you are not in a totally disempowered position. Today you are in a situation where, and that's my third concept, where I'm looking at legal capacity, and it's good that you have led me on to it, that your third concept is wherein the law as it stands today is speaking in one way and the CRPD is speaking very differently. So this is one place where the CRPD is supplanting the Indian law. It is not supplementing the Indian law. And the point which we have to understand, see, when we come to legal, I take your point, Reshma. My point is basically this: what we need to somewhere appreciate is just this, that the law alone is not sufficient. We all know it. But if the law is against me, then I'm in an even worse off position. Because social discrimination is practiced against several people. It's practiced against women, it's practiced against Dalits, it's practiced against a lot of excluded communities. But the law is not saying, the Constitution of India is not saying it is correct to do so. But if you are practicing discrimination against me by reason of the fact that I am a person with psychosocial disability, the law is saying it is alright to do so. Because maybe the objective is somewhere, you're not saying I'm doing discrimination, you're saying I'm doing protection. But in the name of protection, you're discriminating me by not letting me participate. And that's at the heart of what the CRPD is starting to set right. See, and which is where I'm coming to the third major concept. What CRPD has done. See, today, whether it is people, what you quote-unquote call people of unsound mind, is the generalized kind of terminology that we use in a lot of our legislations, and within unsoundness of mind, we include both mental illness and intellectual disability. Psychosocial, intellectual, both get included. And what you say is, if you can't perform a certain kind of function, then you don't have legal capacity. But the moment I have the impairment, I am supposedly somebody on whose legal capacity can be questioned by the law. Basically, that's a fundamental position that you have created. What has the CRPD done? The CRPD is saying questions of mental capacity or physical capacity or sensory capacity, any of these are irrelevant to legal capacity. All persons with disabilities have legal capacity in all areas of life on an equal basis with others. So, and as such for everybody, for the non-disabled, I mean one of the things which I forgot to look at when I was doing, that when you're doing the equality non-discrimination thing, it's important to appreciate that the comparator is the non-disabled person. So whatever you give to the non-disabled person, you have to give to the person with disabilities. So when we come to legal capacity, what do? We say you are a major, you have reached the age of 18, you are a person, you are presumed to be of sound mind. Nobody is coming there and testing each individual and finding out whether they can perform this function or that function or the third or the fifth function. No. What the CRPD now is doing is, it is saying that that same presumption has to be extended to people with disabilities. You can't go for this testing vesting business. The presumption of the law should be, and mental capacity and legal capacity cannot be made. There can be no connection between the two. This whole factor of saying we will look at mental capacity is per se prejudicial. आप कहीं पर ज़ाती कर रहे हैं, जो भी लोग मतलब आप कहते हैं कि हम आपकी जो मानसिक काबिलियत है उसको टेस्ट करने के बाद कहेंगे कि आप अपनी जिंदगी के फैसले स्वयं ले सकते हैं कि नहीं. अगर वो बात है और हम ये कह रहे हैं कि हम समानता का अधिकार देना चाहते हैं, तो फिर वो जो मानसिक टेस्टिंग है वो सारी की सारी पॉपुलेशन की होनी चाहिए. सबका पता करना चाहिए कि भी तुम अच्छे माँ बाप बन सकते हो कि नहीं, उसके बिना तुम्हें बच्चे नहीं पैदा कर सकेंगे, शादी नहीं कर सकते आप. ये क्या हुआ कि आप सिर्फ ये विकलांग व्यक्तियों के साथ करेंगे और दूसरों के साथ नहीं करेंगे. So fundamental point the CRPD is making is this कि हाँ जी लीगल कैपेसिटी जो है वो सबके पास है, मेंटल कैपेसिटी के साथ इसका कोई तालमेल नहीं है. अगर आप वो तालमेल बनाते हैं तो फिर आप वो इक्वालिटी नॉन डिस्क्रिमिनेशन की तरफ चले जाते हैं और वो CRPD आपको कहती है आप नहीं कर सकते. और यहाँ पर ये जो कानून, ये जो प्रिंसिपल CRPD लेके आया है, ये बुनियादी तौर पे आपका जो एग्जिस्टिंग लॉ है, आपका संविधान भी कुछ हद तक उसको भी क्वेश्चन करता है, यहाँ पे वो सप्लांट करता है. और ये सबसे ज्यादा जो कहते हैं ना कि, और ये नहीं कि हमारी कंट्री में, इट इज द मोस्ट डिस्प्यूटेड प्रोविजन एवरीवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड. बट द इश्यू समवेयर इज इट, if you don't say this, then what you are doing is that you are saying discrimination is all right. And fundamentally फिर आपका उसके आगे में हो रहा है कि हाँ जी आप सपोर्ट लेते हैं, तो सपोर्ट लेने भर से nobody can question your legal capacity and you are saying this. आप safeguards ऐसे नहीं बना सकते कि safeguards के नाम पर आप legal capacity ले जाओ. This is the model. The CRPD model is this one. Now you can say कि जब तक कानून नहीं आता हम इसका क्या करें? My point is this: we need to use this model to challenge the existing laws and to be saying that after all, if you do not bring this, then you're denying me all my rights under the Indian Constitution. This is not equality. See, I'm trying to get you to say that you need to pick up your equality non-discrimination provision, make disability a ground, proceed on to saying that if you do not recognize legal capacity, आप मेरे सारे हक ले गए, तो मेरे को CRPD ने या किसी भी चीज ने क्या दिया. और वो अगर लड़ाई मतलब एक लेवल पर आप अपने पार्लियामेंट में लड़ रहे हैं, गेटिंग अ न्यू लॉ, उस पार्लियामेंट में ही सिर्फ अपने सारा कुछ इन्वेस्टमेंट करने की, at this point of time I think we have no option but to also do it across courts, whether it's a Supreme Court, various high courts. Every time whoever is facing discrimination, they must be using this. This is your third major concept, the most critical concept and the one which is in some way supplanting your existing Indian law. The last point I want to put forth is the whole question of कि कहीं पर हम एक civil, political, social, economic इनको अलग अलग तरह से jurisprudence बनाते रहे आज तक, कि डिसेबल पॉलिटिकल आपको झट से मिल जाएगा, कोर्ट जा सकते हैं उसके लिए, सोशल इकोनॉमिक प्रोग्रेसिवली रियलाइज होगा, उसमें कोर्ट नहीं जा सकते। एक ये आज तक की सोच थी। In the Indian Constitution, we have challenged this. We have not clearly observed this difference. You can go to, for your right to education, you can go to court now. And right to education is a recognized social economic right, which we have now made a fundamental right. Your large amount of jurisprudence wherein some of the directive principles became implementable under Article 21 is again an example of that. वो जो jurisprudence already Indian Constitution के अंदर है, उसको आप CRPD से और strengthen कर सकते हैं. I know I've gone a little beyond my time, but I just wanted to capture for you कि if you start seeing CRPD as a resource which you can take right now, then the way in which you can advance human rights through the CRPD has got huge potential. और एक चीज आपको मतलब समझनी है, वो चाहे लॉ की फील्ड में है, चाहे सोशल डिस्कोर्स की फील्ड में है, चाहे एटीट्यूड्स की फील्ड में है, आवाज उठाए बिना कोई सुनाई नहीं। जब तक हम कहेंगे नहीं, कोई उसे सोचेगा नहीं। And that's the advantage of all manner of this thing. The first level of change comes at the level of discourse. बातचीत में पहला बदलाव जो है वो बातचीत की स्तर पे आना चाहिए। अगर आप बोलना फर्क कर देंगे तो सोच में फर्क होगी। I mean, and how it feeds, thinking and speaking, where they feed with each other is an important thing for us to appreciate. मैं पहले नया सोचती हूँ कि पहले नया सुनती हूँ कि पहले नया बोलती हूँ। किसी का आप नया बोलना सुनते हैं तो आपकी नई सोच शुरू होती है, उसकी सोच से आपकी सोच शुरू होती है। और जो हम एटीट्यूड चेंज की बात करते हैं वो कहाँ से आएगा? We file a petition, the Supreme Court throws it out, or the High Court throws it out, and we academicians write reams of articles on how miserable the court has been. आपने कहीं पर हारने में भी जीत हो जाती है, और जरूरी है कि वो लड़ाई जो है वो बिना हार जीत की परवाह किए। There are some battles